football coach at the University of Oklahoma, Lincoln Riley.
Thank you, Chris. Good to be back in our facility. Good to be back on the practice field last couple of days. Excited about, chance to play our final home game here against a much improved Baylor team that's really coming around. It's had some nice wins this year. Obviously, the huge win the other day against Kansas State on the last second play. That was a really well played game against a good football team there at home. So, excited for the opportunity to play. Again, it's just been after 5 days out. It's been great just being back in our facility and being back to work and kind of resuming our climb and our quest to be the team that we think we can be. So, guys' attitudes have been great. They were, I think, just as excited to get back as we were and get back to work. And hopefully we can put it together, have a great week, and be ready to play Baylor Saturday night. That will go to questions.
Okay, thanks, Coach. Let's start with Ryan Aber from the Oklahoman, and then we'll go to Eric Bailey.
Yeah, Lincoln, I was wondering if any assistants have been caught up in either the positive test or contact tracing, and if so, what the planning has been like for that as you get ready to play on Saturday.
I would say it's affected all parts of our program, staff, support staff. We have one branch of our support staff that's been pretty much wiped out. We had to bring in some outside help and players, obviously. So it's hit us all a little bit. So we're, whether it's a equipment manager, whether it's a trainer, whether it's a coach. I mean, you got to have plans. You got to have backup plans in case those things happen. We've had those. The thing for this is it's continually ongoing. Kind of get new information. You're kind of put in a new situation every single day. So, I think we've got plans for all those. We've had to put some of them in place this week. And, I'm obviously not going to get too much into the details, but I do think we'll be, if we can have a good week here as far as the tests, I think we'll be in position to play on Saturday. But we'll see, obviously, how that unfolds.
Just a quick follow on that. If you do have assistants that are out on Saturday, are you able to use whether it's GAs or some of those other guys that you've got around to fill in those on-field spots?
Yeah, we are. We've got we've got some good opportunities there, some good options. We've got some of our GAs really can already coach, but your quality control coaches who are very limited on what they can do on the field, we've been able to, that's an option that you have, which is great. And then actually we brought Coach Stoops out of retirement today, so he was on the field and coached with us today. So it's great to have him out there.
Appreciate it, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Eric Bailey, Tulsa World, and then Joe Bettner.
Let me follow up on that. Just Coach Stoops, how did that become about, and what was it like seeing him back on the field today?
That was great. Yeah, it's nice. I mean, it's been kind of in our hip pocket this whole time. If we had any staff member that fell off, I mean, we got a Hall of Famer sitting on the bench. So that's a pretty good bench when you can call that guy up, and more than that, just how much he cares about this program, and I don't think there's anything that he wouldn't do. So it was great to have him out there today. It was awesome. Our kids were excited to see him. All of us were excited to see him. So I think he had some fun as well.
My original question was kind of piggybacking off what Ryan said. Coaches test positive, including most recently Nick Saban. Do you have any anxiety whenever you take a COVID test? You could be doing all the right things, and one positive result could immediately change the dynamic of your program.
Yeah, I do. I do more as of late. I mean, we went, from our staff. I mean, we went from, and I'm talking about our whole staff, not just coaching staff, but we went from, I think we had one staff member that was positive in August, and then up until 7, 8, 9 days ago, we hadn't had not one the entire time. and we got that's quite a few people. So, I don't know if I had as much anxiety as we were having all that success, but now seeing, all these coaches across the country test positive, several I know and have talked to, and I think several of them are like I've tried to do. I mean, literally the only time I don't have a mask on is when I'm eating, which I'm by myself, and then when I go to sleep. And I mean, and I know a lot of these other guys have done the same thing and still, have still gotten the virus. So do I have anxiety when I take it? Yeah, absolutely. I know we have a good plan in place if I were to test positive, but I absolutely have anxiety. I think every single person in our program right now has anxiety when they take that test.
Thank you, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Joe Bettner, Norman Transcript, and then Jason Kersey.
Hey, Lincoln, I wanted to ask you about Bob Stoops real quick, just with having him back, out there. But I'm curious, I know it's year 4, this is very much your program, but how much do you still maybe lean on him for advice? How often do you reach out for him when there's maybe a situation that you haven't come across as a head coach?
Oh, we still talk often. I mean, there's very few weeks when we don't talk. Sometimes it's lighthearted and one of us checking in on each other. But I always want to lean on him for any observations he has or, experience going through different situations. He's certainly, one of the few people in my life that I know, regardless of what it is, that I can go to and get, just, really well thought out, honest, great advice. And so, no, we still talk often, and I mean, this program's still obviously very near and dear to him, and he's obviously still a part of it, and he's been great for me, because if not for him, there's some of these questions and things you go through in this deal. If not for him, I honestly don't know exactly who I would go to. I just don't really quite have anybody else like that I have that much trust in, that I know, has my best interest, but more importantly has the, this football program's best interest. And I've been very, very, I can't even, I probably don't even understand how fortunate I've been to have a guy like him in that position.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Kersey, The Athletic, and then Bob Prisbillo.
Yeah, Lincoln, we've heard a lot about minimum number of players at certain positions or whatever that you need to play a game. Is there a minimum number of assistant coaches that you have to have, or do you have contingencies for all, for all of those? And then secondly, just as fun, would Coach Switzer, would you ever get to a point when you might bring Coach Switzer back too?
Well, I think they have to be if I'm correct, I think they have to be an institutional staff member, and so that's where we're able to use that with Bob. And then as far as the minimum number of coaches, I mean, we do have a lot of contingencies, but I do think there is a point, where it becomes unreasonable. I do know that there's, been several, we know of several throughout the year, including a couple in this league that's been the case, that there really wasn't staff to do it. So, what's the minimum? Probably depends a little bit on who it is, and just kind of the combination of guys. But, I mean, obviously it's going to be hard to play a football game if you can't have a full functioning staff.
We'll go to Bob Prisbillo, Sooner Scoop, and then John Hoover.
Lincoln, we sort of asked you before, but it is senior day. Have you thought about how you want to handle those festivities? Yep. Have those conversations been a little more difficult this year, knowing they have the option if they want to come back for next year?
Yeah, no, good question. It's something we've honestly been thinking about for about the last 3 or 4 weeks. Started thinking about it maybe more than that, 2 bye weeks ago. We really started to take a dive in that and pull around and just kick around options. But, I've talking to them and talking to some of our kids, families, all that. We've decided we're going to cancel the senior day festivities. I think for a few reasons. I mean, obviously there's a million reasons this year. I mean, not being able to have families on the field, not all families being able to even travel and be there for it. Not being able to do it in front of a full stadium, which that's not the most important thing to me, but I think that is a factor. And I just think all that's going on right now, I just don't know that we could do it the way that we want to do it. So we'll still have our, here in the spring, hopefully at some point, if this thing is cleared up a little bit, we'll be able to have our kind of senior night with our guys and our staff that we did last year and for the first time and loved. And then we are definitely in plans to, whether it's a spring game, another home game at some point in the future, going to come back and honor these guys that and their families that played their last game. So we're definitely not sweeping it under the rug. We want it to happen, but we want it to happen where we can do it the right way. And so we've communicated that to, our guys that it could potentially affect and to their families as well.
Okay, let's go to John Hoover with SI Sooners and then James Hale.
Lincoln, you have not tested positive for COVID, correct? Is that what we're going with on this conversation?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
I don't have this backdrop in my living room.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I'm glad to hear that. So we've talked in the past about your plan of succession on game day,
Right.
how to proceed without you. Now, this could be problematic for you guys, really, in a handful of schools that head coach could go down because you're the play caller. The offensive identity comes straight from you. So what I'm wondering is, could that be a problem for you offensively? Could that be? I know you trust your guys, but at the same time, this is your offense.
Well, it's our offense, and I think it would create some changes for our guys. But those are changes that we've rehearsed. That I feel, again, the hard thing is it's simple to go right on a piece of paper and say, all right, if I get COVID and I'm out, this person's going to do this. We're moving this person to that. We're moving this person to that, and here we go. The hard thing is like, when a situation when you have multiple is, all right, well, what's the plan if you're out and then this person's out and that person's out too, and so it's almost a little maddening to plan for. I mean, we have a kind of structure that we would, or a kind of a set of plans that we would work our way down, but it's just so difficult to say because to me, you got to look at the whole puzzle. And all right, if these couple of pieces are out, how do you put it back together? And so that's what we've attempted to do. We've had a lot of conversations. I think we have contingencies built up quite a bit, but in this year, it's just so difficult to predict, what combination of guys are in or out. And then, what are your answers or your tweaks to offset that? So I am confident in our plan, but at the same time, it's certainly day to day.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
James Hale, KREF, and then Brandon Drum.
Lincoln, Pro Football Focus says that Oklahoma's playing as well as in the defensive line as just about anybody else in college football. I know this has always been, what you really wanted out of your defensive team, your defensive line, and you hope to change the culture to where you would get really good defensive linemen back in this program. It looks like you've started to do that. You've got a great recruiting class coming in with defensive linemen as well. Do you feel like at this point you've changed the culture, or is this still ongoing a little bit for you?
There's no question we've progressed a lot. There's no question about that. From the way our guys are playing right now and producing, and then the quality of players we're being able to recruit and attract. Do you ever sit there and say something's fully changed? I don't know. I do know we're heading in the right direction. We've made a lot of progress. We can recruit players. We can go recruit any defensive lineman in America right now because, there's proof. And now it's not just 1 year proof. It's proof that there's, a major jump in the first year. And then even the second year, up to this point has been better. And the production, this has been, especially when you consider the number of games, probably the most productive defensive front in America this season. So, that's, I know we can play a lot better. I know that, our ceiling is still much higher, but is it exciting to see the track that we're on and the opportunity that we got to continue to get there? But it definitely is.
Thanks.
Okay, Brandon Drum, OU Insider, and then Cliff Brunt.
Hey, Lincoln, before the season started, you said you guys had a plethora of different options that and different scenarios and plans for everything that could possibly happen during this COVID. I'm wondering if this week one of those plans, did you all have something specifically drawn out for what exactly happened this week? And I guess you brought up Bob Stoops, an institutional staff member. Will he be able to provide any help during the game?
As far as contingency plans, I mean, I think some of them have come into play, both with players and staff, and again, staff, not just coaching staff. I mean, staff everywhere. I mean, it takes so many people to make this thing run. I mean, it's, try having a football practice without any equipment managers. I mean, there's just, it's a big operation, and people here work their tail off and do a lot. And so when you do miss some people, you feel it, and there are major adjustments that have to happen. So I think we've been able to adjust on and off the field. Can you ever anticipate exactly what's going to happen? Kind of like referenced earlier, I don't know that you can hit all of it, but I think some of the general prep that we've done has helped us have some direction when things have come up. As far as game day, we'll just have to see how the week plays out and what's just what's available as far as the current, I guess, quote unquote normal staff, but it's certainly a pretty darn good option to have.
Okay, let's go to Cliff Brunt with AP and then Jenny Carlson.
Yeah, Coach, do you by chance have any players that may have actually benefited from having the extra week, maybe have been dinged up or dealing with injuries, but actually benefited from having an extra week to recover?
Oh, I think there's several. I think, we've had a few guys that have played just a whole bunch of snaps this year. And then on top of it, again, with the limited rosters of, there's more snaps in practice, more snaps in games. I mean, we've got some guys that have had a pretty good load on them. So, no, I mean, I think we're a pretty fresh football team. That's one of the positives of having 5 days where you're shut down is I do think we're pretty fast and fresh and moving around pretty good. So, I think, the players that we have available, I think the bodies are in a pretty good shape and feeling good. And I think it did quite a few of our guys some good.
Okay, Jenny Carlson
in particular,
and then Garen Emig.
Maybe made a pretty significant jump.
What's that?
Any particular players that might be a benefit to you?
I thought LaRon Stokes was a guy that probably benefited from it some. I mean, I don't know that he's going to be ready to play yet. We feel like we've been close to getting him back. But that, he's a guy that, has made some progress that I think is getting closer. And so I think he was a guy certainly that probably benefited from having to move the game back.
Okay, Jenny Carlson and then Garen Emig.
Hey, Lincoln, just to clarify, you said you wear a mask all the time except for sleeping and eating. Is that include at home?
Just about all the time. I do at times at home. We try to be outside a little bit more, especially when I'm around the girls. And then, that my family has done like a lot of our coaches' families has, been committed to wearing them, in their normal daily lives as well. So that's, there's certainly a lot more hours a day where I have it on than when I don't.
Considering that and just all that's happening in your program and then around football, I mean, Denver playing without a quarterback, all that sort of thing. Is there any part of you that has thought as you've gone through this, what in the heck are we doing here? Like, I mean, we all know like our livelihoods are from all this too. I mean, we like the games, but is there any part of you that says maybe this isn't the best time to be doing this?
Oh, I mean, I think that was more probably a decision for the beginning. I mean, we all decided that we were going to take this on and knew some of the potential challenges that were going to come up with it. I mean, I think it's, we knew this thing could potentially get more difficult as the year went on, and if cases continued to spike like they have been as of late. Yeah, it's a hard question, because I think we all feel it. There's times where do I feel like that a little bit, maybe. And then there's also times where part of me is like, you know what, this is our world and we can't just totally stop living. I mean, like, this is our lives and we only got so many of these years and so many days and opportunities available. So at what point do you say, well, these opportunities aren't worth it, And so, luckily for us, I know not everybody's been this way. So I certainly don't want to speak generally or speak for anyone, but the people in our program that have had it, we've been fortunate that people have been able to stay safe and they haven't had, lasting effects, lingering effects. A lot of our people have been, if not asymptomatic, pretty close to it. So, and then the flip side, I think you think about as well, if we weren't playing football, what would we be doing? And if you're going by the general population, chances are, if you're still living your life in any other way, you're probably going to get it anyways. So I know that's a long answer. It didn't give you a whole lot of direction. I do feel at times you do kind of sit back and say, man, this is a lot. But, we only get one of these lives too. And so at some point you got to live a little bit too. And I don't know where the right answer is. I don't have that for you.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Gary Nemig, Tulsa World, and then Dean Blevins.
Lincoln, I know that you're have been grateful for the opportunities to play games. And that's been a constant as you've ridden through this. Given what you've gone through as a program the last week, and given that this is getting worse before it gets better for everybody with the chaos that's ensuing in a lot of places, will you be more grateful to step on the field on Saturday and just get a game in at this point as you go through this stuff?
That's fair to say. That's fair to say. It's we start talking. We talked about it all year as a team. We really started talking about it before Kansas. Of just cases were spiking across the country, more games getting canceled, and this is before we had any type of spike or outbreak, whatever you want to call it. We talked a lot about as a team that who knows how many of these we got left. I mean, this may be the last one, and we don't even know it. And so, we've tried to prepare and play that way because we don't know. So I do think, what's going on outside and what's gone inside our program the last 10, 15 days, I think that's very fair to say that we've always been grateful. We'd probably be even more grateful this Saturday if this one's able to get played.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Dean Blevins, KWTV, and then Kerry Murdoch.
Yeah, Lincoln, you mentioned we may not be able to play, and all around the country, it's more and more games are being missed. Ohio State, will they be able to play in their league championship? What about the playoff? What's the deal on the Big 12? Say if you don't play the next two games and there's still a Big 12 championship game, how does that work? Who gets to go?
They spelled those tiebreakers out. I mean, they're they kind of are what they are, and I think everybody knows that maybe points where you have to adjust. But I thought the ADs in the league did a good job in the very beginning of defining all that, and it's obviously, it's not going to be the reason we make decisions. Joe and I committed to that long before the season started, that we were going to make the right decisions for the safety and health of the team and the program and think long term, and we weren't going to get caught up in the day to day. So we'll make the decisions to play or not totally based on that and that alone. With that being said, from a truly competitive standpoint, I think it's us being able to play at least one of the next 2 weeks and having a chance to win is the key. And if we're not, then it'll be detrimental to Big 12 title chances. But if that's the right thing to do, then we, as much as it would hit you in the gut, we wouldn't hesitate to do that. If, hopefully we're not in that and we can control it and be in a place to play in both, because we absolutely want to play in both.
Let's go to Kerry Murdoch with Sooner Scoop and WWLS, and then Parker Thune.
Hey, Lincoln, we talked a lot last year about, speed D and simplifying the defense and playing fast. I'm curious, getting to play so many young guys, going through what you're going through, how much does having a defense like Alex Grinch's, where he tries to make it simple, help out in times like these?
It has, it definitely has. I think it's allowed a lot of guys to be able to contribute, certainly in a year like this. And even, we started saying this, I think year one, as we wanted, just even in normal years, for more players to contribute and to play more guys and not have guys that are taking, 70, 80 snaps a game. I mean, it's very difficult to win that way and keep guys healthy and play at max effort all the time. And so now I think that's been another benefit of it. And, it's obviously, paid dividends this year as we've had, so many different lineups and so many guys out and still been able to step up and play quality ball for the majority of the year.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll go to Parker Thune with SI Sooners.
Yeah, Coach. And obviously, as you approach senior night here, got some of the guys on the roster, such as Tanner Schaefer, Spencer Jones, guys that, their impact maybe isn't necessarily felt as heavily on the field, but that are still elder statesmen in that locker room. What can you say about how some of those guys have impacted the program during their time here?
Yeah, no, those guys they're so key, and you said it well, doesn't always, show up in the stat book on Saturdays, but those guys have, served so many roles here, done so many, things behind the scene, both on the field, helping bringing along young players, serving the team in whatever need possible. And I don't think there's any really good team and really good programs that don't have guys like that, because you have to have them. They're vital. And so we certainly have, those two guys, and certainly a few more that, that have been huge for this team. And whenever they are gone, we'll miss them and need certainly guys to step up in those roles, because you want to be a championship team. Again, like I said, you have to have guys like that are that selfless and have the ability to do so many things to help you behind the scenes.
Thanks.